not the video that you were meant to see. In fact, I had an entire different video planned for this week, but things didn't go as I expected them to go. So let's talk about it. Hey Merfam, it's Mermaid Minnow. So as many of you know, in the United States, this weekend was a Labor Day weekend. My mertender and I went to spend time with my family on the other side of the state. So I kind of had, before I left, I kind of had to make the decision whether or not I was going to bring a mermaid tail, which was an obvious yes, but also if I was going to plan on filming. And because of the scenery of that side of the state, I really was excited for the greens and I thought it would look really well with my mermaid tail, and so I did decide that I wanted to film while I was there. But as you now know, that didn't happen. On Sunday, we packed up our bags with our mermaid gear. I brought with me my Finis Luna monofin, so that way I could try it out. I didn't get to try it out, but that's a story for another time. And I also brought my Mertiller Fantasy with my Gator Claw skid. So everything was going great. We drove, it was an hour-long drive. It was a bit of a windy drive and I get car sick, so I was feeling a little bit sick, but as soon as we got to my aunt's house, which was next to this river, I felt a lot better. At my aunt's house, we picked up a couple of paddle boards and a 7-person raft float thing. It was amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and insert a picture here of what it looked like, and let me tell you, it was tons of fun to use this thing. But we took all of that, we took my mermaid gear and we drove down to the river, which was about a 2 to 3 minute drive. It was not far from my aunt's house at all. So when we finally got to the river, I did notice a couple of things. The current over by where we were at was a little bit strong, but also the water itself was quite muddy. So I was a little apprehensive. I was a little disappointed. I mean, I was glad to be there with family, but I was a little disappointed that I wasn't going to get the footage that I wanted to get. The good news was, even though the current was quite strong, my aunt did know of a little area that had a little bit of a sandbar and an eddy. That was a really good place that we set up. And let me tell you, it was amazing. It was a small little sandbar, which was more than enough for the 10 people that we had. And because it was an eddy, there wasn't really even a current, and so it was really a nice little area. So I get in the water, and this water is freezing cold, because one thing I didn't account for is this river feeds from a mountain. So that is why it was, one, so cold, but also why it was so muddy is because we've had such hot temperatures here in Washington that there's been more melting snow on the mountain, which has just slid all of that mud down into that river. So we get to the actual sandbar, I put on my mermaid tail, and I decide I cannot swim in this because it was just too cold and I didn't feel comfortable in the current, not being able to see, and the temperature on being able to get good footage for you guys. So what I decided to do is I just put my tail on, I just sat on the edge of the sandbar somewhere that wasn't too deep, and I just kind of moved my fluke back and forth. And let me tell you, that was fantastic. I mean, yes, as a mermaid, like, of course I want to be able to swim around and do tricks and all that kind of stuff, but with everything that's been going on and not having access to my pool that I'm used to having access to, it was really nice to just be in tail and just be hanging out in the river. And it was really nice that I was there spending time with family. So honestly, all in all, it was a good day, even though I didn't get to do what my original intent was with filming a video for you guys. The funniest thing about this entire thing is we left one of the bags that we had in the car up at the parking lot because it had our clothes in it and I didn't think much of it. The funniest thing about that though is the darn GoPro camera was in that bag. So even if I had decided I wanted to film, I wasn't gonna film. So be that what it may, it was not happening that day. So why I'm sharing this story with you guys, besides just kind of sharing a funny incident that happened, is because I wanted to touch really briefly on some mermaid safety and kind of talking about why it's so important as a mermaid to know what's going to work for you and what's not going to work for you. I don't want to go into too much detail into mermaid safety. I'm just going to go over a couple of things, but if you would like to see a video on that, please comment down below. I'd love to make that for you guys, so let me know. As a mermaid and a mermaid performer, I might not be a professional mermaid, but I definitely perform as a mermaid. It is really important for you to know your limits. So I've mentioned this in multiple videos, including the Dark Side of Mermaiding video, that I am not the strongest swimmer, okay? I ended up leaving swim classes when I was younger, and so I never learned how to do a freestyle stroke. The only thing I can really do is a breaststroke. That's about it. I don't have the best swimming capability. I don't have a lot of stamina either, and I know that about myself. So whenever I swim as a mermaid, I never swim in water that is deeper than where I can stand for a long period of time, and I'm almost always swimming towards shallow water if I'm in the deep water. The reason being because I know I need to take breaks in between when I'm swimming, and so I always set myself up in a place where I'm feeling comfortable. So the first thing as a mermaid is know your limits, know what you're comfortable with, and know what you're getting yourself into. So it's really important to scout out a location before you decide to tail up. I didn't in this case, which is why I didn't end up swimming too much, because I didn't know what the location was going to have. So it's really important that you know what you're getting into, but also you know what you're capable of doing as well. So it might be a beautifully pristine lake, but if it's freezing cold, you need to know that you're not going to be able to perform at your top ability because you're going to be battling cold the entire time. So some food for thought. Another thing I wanted to talk about, and what's really important, is always go with other people. Mermaids should never mermaid alone. It doesn't matter if you don't have another mermaid with you, you need to have someone else there with you. Somebody who can take care of you in terms of knowing where you are, and if you are in any sort of trouble, they can be there to rescue you immediately. Because something to think about when you're a mermaid is your legs are bound. So even if you're a strong swimmer, you're a great swimmer, this is going to be a completely different swim. One, it's your dolphin kick, so it's not even your typical swim anyway. But also, you can't accommodate for an emergency in a mermaid tail. Like, yes, there are safety features in mermaid tails where you can kick out and get out safely. All of my tails, except for my silicone tail, have the capability of doing that, which is why I never even began to think about bringing this tail with me to the river, because I knew it wouldn't be an option. But you don't have the same quick capability of doing things, so you really need to have somebody who can help you. There are instances when you get too cold that you do lose muscle control, so because of that, you would not be able to kick yourself out of your tail, so you really need to have somebody there with you as a safety. Another reason why I wanted to mention this, and something that I mentioned in my Dark Side of Mermaiding video as well, is as mermaids, it's not all about being the beautiful mermaid aesthetic. So I do take videos of nearly every time I mermaid, and I do create mermaid content because I enjoy doing it. However, it's not my primary job. In fact, I don't make any money off of this. Do I hope to be able to? Yeah, of course. I would love to be able to fund more money into my mermaiding, always. But it's not the primary source of income for me. So it is not a job. It is still a hobby, and it is still something that I use as stress relief. So making these videos, working on this stuff is all part of my stress relief. So as mermaids, we do need to know that you don't have to have the most beautiful things to be a mermaid, right? So I can just throw on a fin, I can just sit in the tub, I can just sit in a river, and I can just kick my legs about. And that is just as satisfying as it is to be swimming around in a tail and have someone following with the video. In fact, it's actually more fun because that stress of making sure that, you know, it is stress relieving, but at the same time, making sure that my mertender's in the right spot so he's getting the shot the way I envision it. Those sort of things, I'm communicating to him what I'm doing before I do it. Knowing that I can just sit there and kind of hang out and be by myself is actually a really fun thing. So just as a reminder, things may not go as we plan, but that doesn't mean we still can't be the beautiful mermaids that we are. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. If you're not already, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me over on Instagram at Mermaid Minnow. And finally, I have a Facebook page, so you can find me on Facebook as Mermaid Minnow as well. There's nothing really posted yet, but I do hope on making it sort of like a behind the scenes type look into my YouTube channel. So if that's something that you're interested in, please go ahead and follow me there too. I hope that you all have a mertastic weekend and you get to enjoy some of this summer before it goes away, because we are in fall now. I'll see you guys all later. Bye!